Hi, I'm Nancy Harkness, romance author, and I'm here for Writer Unedited, number 49. It's just me in my writing office, nothing fancy. I'm wearing lipstick. Woo! If you have any questions, please type them in the comments. Sally's here! Hi, Sally, how are you? Oh, you like my necklace? It's another Maria Nicola creation. Oh, I have another viewer. Please say hi in the comments if you're here. All you have to do is say hi. I just like to know who I'm talking to. So yes, this is Writer Unedited number 49. If you missed previous Writer Unedited, you can always find them on my YouTube channel, and I will put the link in the comments. If you have questions, please type them in the comments while I'm talking, and I will do my best to answer them because I love having questions, especially because it's been hard recently to come up with things to talk about. So I am talking today about Shower of Stars. Why am I talking about Shower of Stars? This was the second novel of mine that was published, and I am celebrating the 20th anniversary of its publication. It actually was published in July 20 years ago. God, that's amazing. 20 years. For some reason, I thought it was in August, so I missed celebrating it in July. But here it is. Maybe I've already talked about it. I can't remember. But I'm going to talk about it again. So here's Shower of Stars. So the story is journalist Charlie Berglund has nabbed an interview with Jack Lynette, a handsome, enigmatic meteorite hunter who's just made a priceless scientific discovery. But once they've met, Charlie has more in mind than just a hot story. A working divorcee, unable to have children of her own, she's been dealing with frustrating resistance from an adoption agency that fears she can't provide a stable home. With a little scheming and a little luck, Charlie strikes a deal, and soon she and Jack are married, in name only, of course. What begins as strictly business soon turns very personal, and develops into a mutual desire as rare and precious as a shooting star. But just as the pieces of Charlie's life are finally falling into place, a secret about Jack's past will test their fierce yet still fragile love. And the amazing thing is it talks almost nothing about meteorites in that copy, which I did not write, by the way. So this book was published by Berkley back in 2004. Berkley is an imprint of what was then Penguin and is now Penguin Random House, of course, since they merged. And you will notice it is, compared to Gabrielle, much smaller. It's a mass market paperback because back then, almost all books were either hardcover or mass market paperback. And of course, back then, there were no ebooks whatsoever. So this was, in Barnes & Noble and in drugstores, and it turned out, interesting enough, it was also in like hospital gift shops in a couple of places, because a man who stocked hospital gift shops somehow discovered my books and would stock them there, which I thought was kind of fun. And you can see it has shine on the cover, which was nice. It was supposed, the stars on the cover, I don't know if you can see them, they're little tiny stars, were supposed to also be sparkly, but I don't know, I assume for price reasons they decided not to do that. Who knows? But when I was writing, so I wanted to show you three covers. So this was the original cover, mass market for Berkley in 2004. And then, of course, in those days, because there was no such thing as ebooks, books went out of print, which meant that they just disappeared from the bookshelves and vanished from anything except used bookseller websites. So, particularly because Berkley did not then offer me another contract after my first two books with them because my editor left, so I was what was known as orphaned in the book business. The person who championed my books was no longer there. I asked my literary agent, once the book went out of print, to get my rights back. And keep in mind, this was well before the advent of Kindle, Nook, etc. So she said, why on earth would you want your rights back? And I said, well, she said, what are you going to do with them? And I said, I have no idea, but why would I let Berkley keep them? Because they're not going to do anything with them, because there was nothing for them to do with them. So she wrote a letter, and back then it was really easy. She just wrote a letter and said, the book has been declared out of print, and please give us back the rights. And so a few months later, I got a letter from Berkeley saying, okay, you get the rights back, it's yours. So what did I do? Because about 4 years later, I guess, Kindle took off. So I self-published it. This was the first self-published cover, which, oh gosh, who designed this? What was her name? Story Wonk. Who was it who runs Story Wonk? Anyway, nice lady who was also an author. So this was the first cover of the self-published ones. And then I signed with Montlake, and they started doing covers that had the hero on them rather than the heroine. So redesigned the cover for Shower of Stars so it has the hero on it. Not actually my favorite cover. I think one of these days I might get it redone because it's a little on the dull side. But when I was researching this book, the original one, the first one, this, I did all kinds of research on meteorites, mostly because I was fascinated by them. Let's see. Oh, new comment. Sally says, smart to get your rights back. Made me look really smart. I had no idea what I was going to do with them. I just didn't want them to stay with a publisher who was no longer interested in my books. It was almost kind of me just being grouchy. I got the rights back to A Bridge to Love also, so I was able to self-publish that as well. So I looked very clever. It wasn't really, I didn't actually have a crystal ball and see the self-publishing wave coming. I wish I could say I had. Diana's here. Hi, Diana. So nice to see you. Thank you for stopping in. So anyway, back to Shower of Stars and the research. So I just love, yeah, I'm clairvoyant, Sally, exactly. I just love anything that has to do with outer space, which is what's got me started on the idea of doing a book about a meteorite hunter. So Jack is a man who travels all over the world, finding, actually not finding the meteorites himself so much, although he does that too. It's more that he has a network of people who contact him and say, I think I might have a meteorite for you. Would you like to come and look at it? And I based this on a real person whose name I have now completely forgotten, who did this. And I thought it was a fascinating profession. I actually got the idea from people who dig up dinosaur bones and sell them, because I thought, oh, well, if you dig up a dinosaur bone, you must have to give it to a museum, right? Or at least sell it to a museum. But no, you can sell it to private people. And the same is true of meteorites. So I did tons and tons of research on meteorites, basically because I had fun. I went to the Smithsonian in Washington, where they have an excellent exhibit. I went to the Museum of Natural History in New York City, where they also have an excellent exhibit. And I'll get back to that in a minute. But I was very knowledgeable about meteorites back then. I knew all kinds of stuff about them, and some of it is in the book, obviously not even close to all of it, because that would bore you to tears. I would be writing a textbook after all. So I decided I needed to refresh my memory a little bit before I talk to you about them, and I Googled, literally typed in on Google, meteorites, and guess what happens? A meteorite streaks across the page of Google, and then you get a little shake when it hits the ground. It's very cool. Google meteorites, and you'll see. I thought that was very fun. So I actually own a piece of a meteorite. So this is called a palisite, and I wish you could see the stone in it. See my hand moving behind it? You can see through the stones. It's a ferro-nickel mix is the metal. This is just a slice. See how thin it is? They literally sliced this off a meteorite. And the stones are olivine crystals. And they're pretty sure that these meteorites originated came from an asteroid, and from where the core and the crust or the mantle intermingle. And so something hits the asteroid, and tears a chunk off, and then this goes spinning away and gets caught in the Earth's atmosphere and falls to Earth. But isn't it pretty? I just think they're so pretty. I wish I need a flashlight to shine through it, because it's really pretty. And then the iron ones, because this is called a palisite. It's called a stony iron meteorite. The iron ones have something called Whitman-Staton structures in them, which are these crisscrosses that look like they're etched into the middle. It's very cool. And they actually make wedding rings out of them, mostly for men, I guess, because they're kind of thick and heavy. But you can see the Whitman-Staton structures when it gets polished. I love this stuff. I'm such a nerd sometimes. I really am. I also just love outer space. And, you know, this was given to me as a gift, but I looked it up and I think it's worth like $300 or $400. I think it's from South America, maybe Chile, or Brazil. I've forgotten which meteorite it comes from. Only 1% of meteorites, which is what meteors are once they fall to the earth, only about 1% of them are pallasites like this, the stony iron, or there's actually another kind of stony iron, but they're rare. They're actually relatively rare, and I just think they're so beautiful. So, and I just think it's cool to own something that came from outer space. So the plot of Shower of Stars, other than the adoption plot, which you could hear from the beginning of what I read to you, is that Jack finds a meteorite, or someone finds a meteorite and sells it to him, that came from Mars and might show evidence, might be proof that there was life on Mars. And so it's extremely valuable, and there's a little bit of a mystery around it, and I just had a lot of fun. And if you read the book, the other thing is that Jack and Charlie is Charlotte, but Charlie's her nickname. Charlie go to a gala at the Museum of Natural History in New York City, at the Rose Center for Earth and Space. And so, of course, I went to visit there, and I wrote in all the stuff that's there, like the 15.5 ton Willamette meteorite. That's an iron. It's a stone, an iron meteorite that's on display in right in the Rose Center of Earth and Space. But then, weirdly enough, the rest of the meteorite collection at the Museum of Natural History is off. You have to walk through the minerals. It's not in the Center for Earth and Space. You walk through the minerals, and then it's in this back room. And of course, Jack knows that, and Jack, in the middle of the party, takes Charlie there, and there's a giant, huge meteorite there. I don't even know how much it weighs, called Unedited, which is, you know, it's this huge hulking thing. It's like about the size of a bison, I guess. Looks a little bit like one. And they hide back there and have a little nookie. So that was fun. They've redesigned the meteorite exhibit since then, so it would be a little harder to do that now, actually. But back then, you could. So that's Shower of Stars. You can still get it. It's on Kindle. It's in Kindle Unlimited, or you can get a lovely print copy like this one with this shiny cover. Yeah, you know, now I'm looking at this, I really need to do a different cover for this, don't I? I do, because it's a really good book and it deserves a better cover. So why am I talking about a 20-year-old book instead of something more relevant? Well, because Raul's story is giving me fits. If you get my newsletter, you heard me whining about this in my newsletter. And frankly, I would really like to thank all the wonderful readers, and I'm not kidding about this, who after reading my newsletter wrote to me these incredibly encouraging and supportive emails and said, we have confidence in you, you can do this, you're going to get this book written, which is way more than I feel about myself. And one very astute email said, you know, Raul has a lot of issues, and I do think that may be part of my problem. He has so many issues that it's very complicated to deal with all of them. And she then enumerated them, and I'm going to give you a slightly edited list. In fact, I expanded it a little bit. I just want to say, spoiler alert, if you have not read Gabrielle and Luis's books, you shouldn't listen to this part, because I am going to talk about things that happened in those books. It's inevitable. If you want to read Raul's book, you're gonna get spoilers. So, number one, Raul's mother died when he was a baby, Possibly it was suicide because of postpartum depression. So he's motherless, and in a way he caused her death, possibly. His father is the king. I mean, kings are big. They're larger than life, right? And his father is considered one of the best kings of Kaleva ever. So big shoes to fill, right? He's and a bit of a shadow. I mean, that kind of big father figure casts a shadow. Not to mention that his father almost died of poison recently. So think about how terrifying that would be, that your father is almost died. This is a father you love dearly, who raised you, essentially. Not only that, but if he dies, you then become king and have to fill his very large shoes. So that's the second one. Number 3, his cousin, Gabrielle, was kidnapped and mutilated because they wanted Raoul. And Raoul actually had to allow that to happen because he's the prince, and they didn't want to give the kidnappers the leverage of having the prince. Ouch. Diana said, loved that part. Ooh, thank you, Diana. Tell me which part, but I'm glad you loved it. What else? Oh, yes. So Raoul has just acquired a new sibling, a half-sister, and a new stepmother. And they're Americans. But even more than that, it just has changed his family dynamic. It used to be him and the king and Gabrielle. But Gabrielle, forgot to write this one down. Gabrielle has now fallen in love and is about to get married. And that's going to change the dynamic between the two of them, of course. So that's another one. The hospital scene, Diana. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. I loved writing the hospital scenes. They were like my favorite thing in that book. I just let loose with the emotions and the angst and the love and all that stuff. So I'm so glad to hear you like those. Okay, so what else? Oh, yes. So, and on top of all this, Raoul is the prince. He's the crown prince. He's the heir to the throne. He has no choice about that, right? He was born into that position. It's a good thing he likes the job, because he doesn't get to choose a different one, and he's a very public figure, so everything he does is scrutinized and critiqued, and it's a lot of pressure. So you have to feel sorry for a character when a writer piles on that many problems. In fact, even the writer, me, is finding them a little hard to deal with because there's so many. And oh my gosh, I don't envy the poor woman who has to take on all of those problems, right? How he has to help him. So his heroine has to be really, really strong. And actually, that I'm not having a problem with. The heroine, is working for me. It's Raoul that I'm struggling with. So that's why I decided to talk about Shower of Stars instead. And then, of course, I talked about Raoul. But I am trying. I am working on it. So a couple of public service announcements, so to speak. Just to remind you that both Royal Kaleva Gabrielle and Royal Kaleva Luis are on sale on audio this month. Gabrielle's 75% off, so he's only $7.50 until September 1st. And Luis is on sale for 50% off until August 23rd, so not too much longer. So you should grab them while they're cheap. Also, where's the other book? Here we go. Royal Kaleva Gabrielle, this book is heavy, is on sale for $2.99 on Kindle, also until the end of the month. So you should grab Gabrielle while he's cheap. So maybe you haven't read him yet, in which case you heard the spoilers. Sorry about that. Or maybe you read him on Kindle Unlimited and you'd like to have a copy to keep. $2.99. It's a good deal. And finally, I wanted to remind everybody that Susan Carlisle and I do a Zoom on... let's see. Diana has a question. Is that print, Luis? Audio. Diana, it's on audio that he's 50% off, Luis. So that makes him, I think, $12.50 audio. So, yes, Susan Carlisle and I do a Zoom once a month, and it is August 20th this month at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And the cool thing about Zoom is you can talk to us. It's a conversation. It's not like this where I have to respond to your comments. It's a chat. So I would love to have you join us. It is generally exclusively for our newsletter subscribers, but I decided you guys deserve to join in the fun. So if you're interested, email me or private message me, and I will send you the Zoom link for next Tuesday, August 20th at 7 p.m. I would be delighted to have you guys come. It's a lot of fun. Susan is a ton of fun. She has this great Southern accent. I know you probably think I have a Southern accent. It is nothing compared to Susan's. She's from Georgia, sure enough. And so, hope you'll join us. And I think that's it. Does anybody have any questions for me? I don't see any questions. Oh, you're very welcome, Diana. Yeah, that's all I got. So I will see you all next Wednesday right here on Facebook live at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And thank you so much for coming and joining me. It's so good to see you guys. Bye-bye.